really needs a budget. I don't want to write that down. I don't want to do the math. That involves numbers. And you know what? That's a little scary. I'm not sure I really want to know exactly where I stand financially. Do I really have to do a budget? Yes, you really have to do a budget. Quit being a baby. You have to do a budget. You cannot achieve your goals, financially or otherwise, if you don't know where you're starting. You need to know where you are right now. Then, you're going to figure out how to get where you want to go. The flip side is, you're going to say, well, I don't even really know what my goal is. I don't even know. Someone just told me I should go online and watch some videos about getting my financial shit in order. Okay, if you don't know what your goal is, start with your budget. Look at where your money's going. Look at what you have. Then figure out from there, what should your goal be? Your goal and your budget go hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. So, yes, you're starting with a budget. But it's easy. This is not a big, hard, difficult, scary thing. It really is not. Coming up with a budget is pretty damn simple. You don't need an Excel spreadsheet for this. Okay, use one if you want. But I hate Excel spreadsheets almost as much as I hate PowerPoint presentations. Jesus Lord, you can just get out a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, and that's what we're going to do today. And this is called zero-sum budgeting. What does that mean? It means after you do all the math, you're at zero. And no, that does not mean you get to spend all your money every month. That means all your money is accounted for every month, and some of that money is going to pay off debt. And some of that money's got to be saved, doesn't it? Yeah. All right, there we go. There's our fancy budgeting sheet. It says budget. We're going to do a monthly budget, but you also have to remember to accommodate things that you pay less frequently than every month and figure out how much you need to be saving. So for example, I pay my car insurance twice a year, but I still need to know what that monthly cost is and figure it into my monthly budget and set that amount of money aside, or else I've got this enormous bill that hits me twice a year. So any budget is going to start off with your income. How much do you have coming in? What do you have to work with? All right, I'm making this up for a married couple, right? So we have his income every month. We're going to say $3,400. I know, some of you saying, well, that's an awful lot, right, to begin with. Whatever. We're using bigger numbers. Use your own numbers. Her income, this is take home, obviously. It doesn't really matter what you gross. What you're bringing home is what you're bringing home. Her monthly income is $2,800. So that equals, carry the one, $6,200 a month that we have to live with. The key to happiness in life, besides making your bed, is living underneath your means, right? You don't want to spend every penny you have. You need to save for the future. You need to save for emergencies. So you need to live well beneath your total net income. You've got to have a buffer zone. All right, and when we write expenses, we're going to round up because that in itself will create a little bit of a buffer zone. For example, if your monthly union dues are $58, we're going to write down $60 and round up and then create that little extra savings slush fund to make sure you don't bounce at payments because you're going to have that little bit of extra on each bill. All right, so we have $6,200 to work with. Now we're getting down to expenses. Where is this money going? First, we're going to look at your fixed expenses. These are things you can't really control, right? So your rent or your mortgage. I mean, you can control them if you move to a cheaper place, or you refinance your mortgage, or you sell your house and you downsize. But at the moment, this is what you're paying every month. So let's say you have a mortgage that is $3,500 a month. Whew, that's high. Where the hell do you live? Well, that's what it is. So look at that. You've already used up all of his income and $100 of her income. You don't have as much as you thought you did, do you? Because you're living in a nice house in an expensive area. All right, there you go. So now really what you're working with for all the rest of your expenses is going to be $2,700 a month. It sounds like a lot. These numbers sound big to me. I feel like, wow, over $6,000 a month. You are just so rich. Like, you shouldn't even have budgeting problems. But we're looking at the real cost of living in some places. So, you got that. Now, if you have a car loan or student debt or whatever loans you have to pay, whatever payments you have to make, if you have to pay alimony, if you have to pay child support, whatever that is, that comes next because you have to pay that every month. All right, so this was mortgage. Now let's say you have to pay $150 a month on student loan because you are not going to default on that. Now, it's hard to figure in credit card debt because that is obviously going to be very different for everybody. If you have $50,000 in credit card debt, your monthly minimum payment is going to be different from somebody who has $20,000 in credit card debt. And if you have little children and you're paying for daycare, that's going to be a huge expense, and you are just waiting for the day that they can start public school and you're not paying anymore. I mean, there's so many variations in what your costs and expenses are. I can't write them all down, but okay, here we go. All right, now, let's say you have electricity and gas in your house, and you have to pay your utility bill every month. Utility. And let's say that costs, on average, $200 a month. And let's say in the spring and summer and early fall, it's much less than this, but in the winter, it's much more. And you're having trouble making those huge payments in the winter when it's cold. Get yourself on a monthly payment plan so you're paying the same amount every month. All right, so you're on a payment plan, you're paying $200 a month for your utilities. What are you paying for your cell phone? I do not know, but you are paying for your cell phone. Let's say $100 a month. I hope it's less. I hope you're not paying for all sorts of silly data and junk you don't need. All right, so auto insurance. Let's figure that in. Now, this obviously is going to vary enormously place to place. It's pretty high in New Jersey. What's interesting is that within one state or one area, you're going to pay different rates on your auto insurance based on where you live. So if you live in an area that's considered more risky in terms of crime, you're going to be paying more in your car insurance than somebody who lives 15 minutes down the road in what's considered a safer neighborhood. So that's kind of a blow, but there you go. Kind of keeps the poor people down, doesn't it? People who can't afford to live in a nicer place. But the world is unfair in many ways. Alrighty, so let's say you are paying per month $200 in auto insurance. That might seem really high for some people. If you're only paying $45 a month, yay for you. But if you are in New Jersey and you have more than one car, you might be paying that much. Alrighty, any other fixed costs? Let's say just to make your minimum credit card payments every month. You're not even paying the debt down, you're just making the minimum payments so they don't cancel your card and destroy your credit rating and harass you until you have a nervous breakdown. So let's just say you are making your minimum credit card payment. And let's say it's $80 a month, but we're going to just round it up to $100 because we're rounding to make it easier and to create a little bit of a buffer zone. What other fixed cost do you have? Well, you've cut the cable, you're not watching TV anymore, you don't have a landline phone anymore, all you have is internet. Because you can do everything you need on the internet. And let's say that's $85 a month, but we're going to round up to $100. This keeps the math easier to do, and again, it's creating that little buffer zone for you. So you're tricking yourself into having a little bit of extra money. All right, let's add this up and see where we are so far. We got a 0, we got a 5, we got 6, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, carry the 1. All right, so we're at $4,350, right? So our monthly take home is $6,200. Let's subtract $4,350 just to see how much we have left. Okay, borrow from that, 5, borrow from that, 11 minus 3 is 8, 1. All right, so we have $1,850 left to get through the month. Now, let's say you are devoutly religious and you say to yourself, I tithe. Yep, that's what I do. I'm going to tithe 10% every month, and that's what I'm going to put before any of my other expenses because that has to come first. Well, 10% of your $6,200 is going to be $620. That's a lot. That's a lot when you're looking at $1,850 left for all your expenses. Presumably you have a family to feed and gas to put in your car to get where you need to go, right, and other expenses. So it's up to you if you decide that you're going to tithe. I can't tell you what your soul should be doing regarding that. I mean, it's people who are committed to tithing are pretty clear about it, but I just kind of feel like from a numbers point of view, if you have this massive outstanding debt, personally, I would find other ways to give, other ways to contribute to society, and focus your $620 on getting out of debt so then you can actually have some breathing space with your bills and free up money later, and you can be generous with that. There are plenty of other ways to give. You can volunteer. I'm not personally a big one on giving cash. I'm just not, because I just can't. But we give a huge amount of stuff to charities. Huge. We're giving stuff to the Battered Women's Shelter all the time, and we give stuff to this charity that helps homeless people get settled in housing. So you know there are other ways, but your conscience is going to decide that one for you. Alrighty. So we have $1,850 left. Beep-a-doop. Now look at groceries. Groceries, that's an area you can save on, right? You decide how much you're going to spend. Some people spend just a huge amount of money on groceries. Like, it astounds me how much they spend. I have a friend who spends maybe $250 a week on groceries for her family of 3, and I think, oh my God, what are you eating, gold coins? Like, what on earth are you doing? I've heard some people say, oh, it's very doable to feed your family on $100 per month per person. Right? So if you have a family of 4, that's $400 a month or $100 a week. To some people that might sound like a lot of money. To some people that might sound like a little. $100 a week to me sounds like a lot, actually. But that's because I do a lot of couponing. So if I didn't do couponing and I just paid outright for all the things I get with couponing, probably more than $100 a week because I get so much at such a low price with couponing. But let's start off with $100 a week for food. And this is a budget for people who are not even just broke. Broke means you have no money. This is more for people who are less than broke, right? Like, you owe money. You don't have zero. You got less than zero because you owe $25,000 to somebody somewhere or more. So there's not going to be room in this budget for new clothing and entertainment and date night and family fun, drop $100 a month to the carnival night. Like, you're not doing that stuff. You are cutting back so massively to focus on getting out of debt so that you can create some savings and have money. And that's a different budget down the line where you can start to budget for those extras. But this is, you're less than broke and you're just trying to get to zero and then get ahead a little bit. So you're cutting out all that luxury spending. And there are ways, obviously, to have fun and have a date and spend time together doing things that aren't going to cost money. And those are the things you need to figure out what you're going to do. Instead of going out for dinner with your spouse on date night, you're going for a walk around the block. Or you're walking to the corner store and you're buying a pack of gum and you're each having some gum and that's your dessert and that's all you get and that's your date. Okay? Sorry, but that's it. So we're going to look at $100 a week for food. How much do you spend in gas? Probably a lot. Gas has been more expensive, but it's pretty darn expensive right now. And of course, it depends on how long your commute is to work. So again, that varies massively. But let's say you are spending $75 a week on gas. Okay, so we'll write 75. Alrighty. Alright, sorry, I made that confusing because I was looking at the weekly expense for food. So if $100 is your weekly expense, $400 will be your monthly, and if $75 is your weekly gas expense, you're looking at $300 a month for gas. Well, that looks different, doesn't it? I'm thinking if you have certain other expenses like maybe union dues, that might come directly out of your paycheck before you get your money, so that's already figured into coming out of your gross. Alright, what else? Let's say you have a car payment. Now, in my ideal world of super frugality, you're not going to have a car payment because you are going to buy a used car and you're going to buy it outright for a few $1,000s that you saved up. You're not going to be leasing or buying a new car that you have to make payments on every month. That's the ideal. But let's say where you are, okay, we're not going to judge. Let's say you have a car payment. And let's say that's $400 a month. Yikes, transportation is costing you a lot. All right, where are we now? We are at $1,100. Throw in an other, right? Other. This is not a category I always like to include for myself because I think, well, what other? There's no other. I'm not allowed to spend money on others. There's no other spending. But stuff comes up. I mean, it just does. So we have to be realistic, right? Because there's gonna be other. I'm not saying you're budgeting for clothing right now or, entertainment, anything like that. All right, so you need to decide for yourself what is other going to be. Like miscellaneous stuff that comes up that you can't avoid. I'm not saying this is just go out and spend it on you want, like free miscellaneous, like, oh, we have an other area, so we can go out for lunch with that. No. This is really just for like little emergencies and expenses that come up that you cannot avoid, right? You have control over this. You don't have to spend this. What is this going to be? $100 a month? $300 a month? Your other fund can be the beginning of some savings. So you're going to put this aside, and you're not going to spend this every month. It's there for emergencies, but if you don't need it, don't use it. Let it build up. All right? So let's say we're just going to put $200 a month into a savings account. And if you need it, your tire blows out on the highway, and you need to buy a new tire, or you got to change your oil and be responsible about your vehicle, whatever. We're going to say $200. So now we're at $1,300. All right, so we're left with $550 now. That's kind of a good chunk of money because you've gotten rid of ridiculous luxury spending, like ridiculous things like going out for coffee or stopping on the way to work for coffee and a bagel. You're not going out for lunch. You're not going out for drinks. You are cutting out all that silly spending because it's not just that you're broke, you're less than broke. Right? You're in the negative numbers. So what are you going to do with your $550? You are going to put that towards your highest interest. Here's a little star because that's a big number. Highest interest percentage credit card or debt or whatever you got going. And you're going to focus on paying that down. You can do Dave Ramsey's snowball approach if you want and start with your smallest debt, get that out of the way. But from a pure numbers perspective, you're going to do yourself a favor by getting rid of your highest interest debt first, because that's where you're wasting the most money. If you have some huge outstanding debt, like over here, there's just this crazy ass hospital bill because like you got appendicitis and you had an operation and you're in the hospital for several days, and lo and behold, you owe the hospital $125,000 or more. I mean, that's a huge number. That's a scary number, and it's probably more because hospital bills are outrageous and scary, and you look at that and you say, holy God, how am I going to ever pay that off? Well, right now I'm going to say just pay a little bit at a time. Just shoot the hospital $50 or $100 a month. Keep them happy. Keep them from coming after you. The hospital's not going to come repossess your car and take your house away from you. You can negotiate with them to try to get a smaller bill. You can request charity care. But for now, that's not what you're really trying to pay off. You might do that a little bit at a time. So, you've come up with your budget. You know how much you have coming in. You have all the basics of what's going out without the luxuries. Now you know I'm making minimum payments on my credit card, but now I'm going to start really shoveling more money at that credit card best I can. And I'm going to try to cut down where I can as best I can, right? So I have this expensive car payment. Well, maybe I'm going to get rid of that car. Maybe as soon as the lease deal is up, I am going to drive that car back and I'm not leasing another car, and I'm going to, maybe what I need to do is save that $550 a month for a few months and have a few $1,000s saved up so I can get a used car that's going to get me where I need to go no matter how crappy it looks, and I'm going to get rid of that payment. And then I'll start putting that money into my credit card. Or maybe I'm just not going to go joyriding on a Sunday afternoon. I hope you don't do that, but I'm not going to waste gas. I'm going to make sure that I only am spending $75 a week on gas, and when I run out of gas, I'm not going to be driving anywhere. So I better be careful about how I drive and where I go, because of course I do need to get to work and back. I'm going to try to cut back on my food where I can. And you're already thinking, oh my God, $100 a week, and for this I'm thinking a family of 4. I can't do that. That's already too low. Yes, you can do it. Yes, you can. There are a lot of ways to cut back on your food bill with couponing, without couponing. Couponing will take a huge chunk out of your food bill. You're going to shop the sales. You're going to plan your menus and your shopping around your weekly sales. You're not just going to go out and buy whatever you feel like buying, but you can cut that back even more. You get used to this, and then you cut back. And then you get used to that, and then you cut back. But you have to start by cutting off the bleeding, right? Stop the bleeding, start paying down what is sucking all your money away, which is your high interest debt. All right, that is how you come up with a budget. Now, let's say you do your budget and you don't have $550 left at the end of the month. You got nothing left. You're making all your payments and budgeting, but you're in the negative at the end of the month. You're not even living paycheck to paycheck. You're going into debt every month. Then you need to look at these things and say, what can be cut back? Can I have less coverage for my car insurance? Can I cut back on my cell plan? How do I cut back on my utility bills? Am I going to go without air conditioning? Yes, I am. Am I going to turn the heat way the heck down in the winter? Yes, I am. Do I need to move to a cheaper home? Do I need to rent a room out? Do I need to get a roommate? How can I make my housing expense less? Can I get a better internet plan? Like whatever, how do I cut back on food and gas? You have to make these numbers smaller. If you're not even coming out at zero at the end of the month, if you're still in the negatives, these numbers have to come down. You have to look at what you're spending. And if you say to yourself, I don't know what I'm spending, I don't know what I'm getting at the grocery store, you're going to start to write down. For a month, do it. Write down every single thing you pay money on. If you don't know where your money's going, write it down. And you're going to see how those little purchases nickel and dime you into massive debt. Right? Oh, I only paid $5 for this. It was only $7 for that. Oh, I was really thirsty. I had to get a Frappuccino. That was only $4. Add those things up and you're going to say, oh my God, I just pissed away $250 on nothing, on stupid little shit that I don't need. Well, there you go. You're going to get rid of that spending. You cannot afford it. Yes, you have to start a budget. It is easy. The math is not hard. It's just what you have coming in, what you have going out, and the key is always to have more coming in than is going out so that you can get out of debt and start saving for emergencies. You have to have a goal. Right now the goal is I want to get out of debt. I don't want to be less than broke. You're not going to win the game unless there's a goal to shoot for, right? You have to have a goal. You have to have a plan. You have to know where you start. You have to know how you're going to get to your goal. If you don't even know what your goal is because you're just so flummoxed by your money and you have no clue what's going on, come up with your budget first. Look at where all your money's going. Write down every single thing you spend money on every month. See, I don't have budgeted in here stuff like going out for lunch and going out for coffee because I never do that. I mean, there's just no money budgeted for that, so I don't really even think about it, but that's coming out of that $550 if you're doing those sort of things. If you're going to the movie or you're having date night and you think, my spouse and I need to keep the romance alive and we owe that to ourselves. So once a month or once a week, we're going to get a babysitter and we're going to go out for dinner and a movie, and that costs you what, $100, $150? You are not going to do that. Take a walk, chew a piece of gum, look at a sunset. Oh, that's a beautiful date. Stare into each other's beautiful eyes and say, wow, I never noticed how beautiful your green eyes are. I'm so glad we have spent this time together. All right? You're going to stop the crazy spending and get back to the basics. Make sure you are covering your basic expenses. You're not going out and getting a new purse. You are not going out for coffee. You're not going out for dinner when you're not paying your utility bill. When you owe money to the utility company, you're not doing that. You're going to have the utilities you can afford to have. You're going to shut off lights, unplug things that aren't in use, turn your heat down in the winter, turn your air conditioning off in the summer. You're going to use only what you can afford to use. That's a budget. There you go. It's easy. Money in, money out, hopefully leftover, goes either into savings or paying off the debt. So, there's your simplest, easiest budget that you did by hand on paper, writing down how much money's coming in, how much money is going out. And the key to a happy life is more money coming in than going out. So if you're just bleeding money every month, you got to know exactly where it's going and where you can cut back. And there are ways of cutting back on every one of those costs. And some things you're just going to have to get rid of and do without. But you can't reach your goals if you don't know where you're starting and you don't have a plan. Then every month, you can keep up with a budget and decide, how much am I going to spend? Okay, so I'm going to spend $100 a week on groceries. All right, how much should I really spend? I'm going to start to write down everything I bought. What's a luxury? What do I not really need at the grocery store? Maybe I feel I need bread, but now crackers are a luxury. Crackers may not be the best bang for my buck. You got to figure that out. Am I going to keep buying juice, or are we just going to drink water for a while? You do what you have to do. You're broke. This is not the budget for later on when you have gotten out of debt, you've saved up some money, and there's a little bit of free space. All right, then you're just using that extra. You're still saving. You're saving for the future. Your $550 is going to go somewhere. Some of it can be budgeted maybe for entertainment or saving up for vacation. But right now, you're less than broke. So all that bullshit spending is over. It's done with. And the budget's easy. And you have to stick with it because you're doing this for yourself. This isn't a punishment. I'm not going to make you do it. You have to do it because you want to live a happy, stress-free, simple life. You gotta live under your means. It's common sense. There's no way around it. There is no way around it. You want me to help you? Tell me your numbers. I'll help you with your budget. I'll tell you where you need to cut out spending. You have to do it. You have to listen to me. Yes, you do. But I'll help you. If you have trouble with the math, I'll help